Hello everyone, Christian Brindle here. I hope this message finds you doing well. And in this video today, we're going to be covering the Medicare 2025 prescription drug plan changes and why it is such an important thing for you to be paying attention to, and why it really will explain why a lot of domino effect changes are really transpiring with both individual prescription drug plans, standalone prescription drug plans. If you have like a Medicare supplemental, oftentimes you'll have a standalone separate prescription drug plan that goes along with it, and also prescription drug coverage that you'll get included in a Medicare Advantage plan. All of the above are seeing a lot of changes, and I want to kind of explain why and kind of just point out what you really need to be looking at this coming open enrollment period in the fall. So without further ado, let's just kind of jump right into this, shall we? Okay, so first off, we are seeing massive plan changes to Medicare Part D coverage for 2025, and it's something that we believe everybody needs to be aware of. Due to these changes, we're actually probably seeing the majority of plans take a step back on the Medicare Advantage side, even if it doesn't have to do with their prescription drug coverage, but maybe on their medical coverage, maybe on their dental, vision, hearing coverage. It's kind of acting like a domino effect. And in other plans, it's the prescription drug coverage. And some it's all of the above. And we'll kind of jump into why. So, okay, why is this happening? It's happening because of the Inflation Reduction Act. So if you've been following us on YouTube, you've probably heard me talk about the Inflation Reduction Act over the last couple of years, but I'll kind of explain what it is and what it entails. So in 2022, the Biden administration passes the Inflation Reduction Act. And there's a whole bunch and a myriad of different things that have to do with the economy in here in this bill. It's not specifically a Medicare bill, but there is plenty in it that has to do with Medicare prescription drug coverage, as well as just prescription drug coverage in general in our healthcare system. And so this is having a major domino effect. Now, what it's doing is every single year there's a new aspect of it that's taking effect ever since it passed. So there's certain things on it that have even passed in 2023. There's certain things that have even passed in 2024. But the big thing that's really causing the most changes and the most kind of shifting on plans is what's taking effect in 2025, okay? And I'll kind of cover that in just a moment here. So there's several things included that have to do with Medicare prescription drug coverage, like we just mentioned. The most notable of the changes, and this is what's taking effect in January 1st of 2025, is that starting 2025, it will be mandatory for all Medicare prescription drug coverage to have a maximum out-of-pocket limit of $2,000 per year. Now, people have asked me when I've talked about this previously, they're like, hasn't Medicare prescription drug coverage always had a max out-of-pocket? The short answer is no. For any of you that have been on Medicare for any extent period of time, you probably have realized that, programs like the donut hole, right? You move through different stages of drug coverage. Currently, there's 4. So you have a deductible stage. So if your plan has a deductible, you're responsible for said deductible before the plan chips in. Then you have what's known as initial coverage stage, which is essentially like you have your tier 1s, your tier 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s. And with most plans, you would have a set copay. And you'd pay that copay, and the insurance company would pay the rest towards the cost of the prescriptions. Then you had the coverage gap, also known as the donut hole. And with the donut hole, once you used your insurance enough, once you used your plan enough, it processed enough claims, you'd enter the coverage gap or the donut hole. A lot of you that are watching this probably have experienced this over the years. And then your cost for the prescriptions would go up. And then you had what was known as catastrophic coverage. Now, this year in 2024, once you hit it, that was actually full coverage, but it was a lot more than $2,000 you'd have to spend to get there. But in years past, even in catastrophic coverage, you would still pay 5% of the prescriptions, although your cost would be lower than it ever was any other time of the year. So that was the old system, right? You had this 4-stage coverage system, and depending on your usage, you'd move through these different stages over the course of the year, and your costs would fluctuate, but there really wasn't ever a maximum out-of-pocket limit on these plans. So starting in 2025, there will be of $2,000. Now, that might sound like a good thing, and parts of it are good, and there's certain parts of it that are bad, and we're going to kind of cover that a little bit. So let's first talk about the positive impacts of this change. The first thing is there's not going to be any longer a donut hole or a coverage gap. So that's positive, I suppose, right? For those of you that have just been year after year after year getting into the coverage gap or the donut hole, you might feel that, it's just a horrible thing. With most plans, you'd pay 25% of, well, really all plans, because it's standardized by the government, you'd pay 25% of the retail cost of a prescription in the donut hole. And a lot of these prescriptions are very high in cost. So that can be looked at as a positive thing. It's actually moving from the four system, the four stage system down to three. So just take the coverage gap or the donut hole out of it. So now you'll have a deductible stage, an initial coverage stage, and catastrophic coverage stage. And in catastrophic coverage, you will be at 100% covered by the insurance company. So that's positive. And Medicare recipients that were paying more than $2,000 a year in drug costs, they're now going to pay less. So those people are going to be in pretty good shape. So that's a good thing. And like I mentioned, the new stages of drug coverage, you can just take the coverage gap or the donut hole out of it. You still have the remaining three that we talked about a second ago. So you have deductible stage. Essentially, if your plan has a deductible, which next year most plans will, you are responsible for meeting that deductible. And it's not going to be on every prescription. Some plans it might be on all prescriptions, some it might only be on brand name prescriptions. But whatever that deductible is, you have to meet it before the plan helps cover you at all. Then you have your tier 2, which is your initial coverage stage. You have your tiers 1 through 5. And whatever the cost is for those, you pay that, and the insurance company pays the rest. And then catastrophic coverage is that $2,000, and then you're 100% covered. So far this sounds pretty good, right? It sounds pretty positive, pretty great. And there are some good things about it, but there are some negative domino effect implications of it that we do need to cover and we need to make you aware of. So the negative impacts of this. Deductibles on many plans are going to go up. We're seeing this. This is 100% for sure. So some plans that had no deductibles on the Medicare Advantage side, we're seeing them go to 200, 300, 400. Other plans that had smaller deductibles are having them go up. You're seeing the norm is going to be most plans will have larger deductibles, $200, $300, or $500 or $600. Okay. So that deductible stage is going to be more painful at the beginning of the year than it might have been in recent memory. Now, on the standalone prescription drug plan side, you're seeing similar things. You're seeing those deductibles go up as well, although you're just paying a premium for those plans. And some plans are seeing those premiums go up a little bit. Not all, but some. Now, this is a big one, right? A lot of plans on their initial coverage stage, where you had your tiers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and you had your set copays, right? For example, right, your brand name categories were your tier 3s and 4s. So your brand name categories were a set $45 copay on a lot of plans and a set $95 copay, or somewhere in that vicinity in recent years. You're going to see a lot of plans, not all, but probably the vast majority, are changing from that set copay a lot into co-insurance percentages, which will end up costing you more over the course of the year. So an example to that might be, instead of it being a set $45 copay for a tier 3, maybe you have a 15 or 20 or 25% coinsurance for that. Now, let's say you're taking a prescription like Jardiance. Jardiance is a commonly used prescription. It's always a tier 3 or 4 on every single plan. Let's say it's a tier 3 on your particular plan, and your coinsurance is 25% in the initial coverage stage after you've gotten past your deductible. And let's say the retail cost of it is $600. It might even be greater than that, but let's just pretend it's $600. If your coinsurance for that is 25% now, you're going to spend $150 a month for a 30-day supply. So those costs are going to be higher. Now, a lot of people are saying, but we have the $2,000 max, right? The $2,000 cap out of pocket. This is true. But as we've looked at studies, the vast majority of Medicare beneficiaries do not spend $2,000 a year in prescription drug costs. Now, if you are just taking generics, let's say you're only taking your tier 1s, your tier 2s, your very common, let's say you're only taking the lisinoprils of the world and the atorvastatins of the world and the omeprazoles of the world, and you don't take any brand names, this will have very little impact on you. Your generic prescription copays and coinsurances are still going to be very, very low, and they are still going to be set copays on pretty much every plan that I have seen. But essentially, it's those coinsurances on the brand names that are going to be killer. So if you're just taking a couple generics, this really doesn't have a lot of impact on you on the prescription drug side of things. If you're taking high-cost brand names, it will. And most people, like I mentioned, a vast majority of people on Medicare, do spend less than $2,000 a year in prescription drug costs. So for the people that are taking brand name prescriptions and they're spending less than $2,000 a year in costs, they will most certainly get closer to that $2,000 number than they ever did before. So their costs will go up. So if you're spending less than $2,000 and you're taking any brand name prescriptions, you can just bank on no matter what plan you're on, your costs will be higher than they were in the past because of this new system. And that will probably be the majority of people on Medicare. Although the people that are positively impacted are the people that are spending more than $2,000 a year as is in the current system. Those people will save money. So it's going to help some people and it's going to raise the costs for others. And this is kind of going over what we just talked about, right? The majority of Medicare recipients who were paying less than $2,000 a year in drug costs previously will now be closer to $2,000 than they ever were before. And I think that's a fact, unfortunately. Many Medicare Advantage plans. If you're on a Medicare Advantage plan, many Medicare Advantage plans are seeing areas of their coverage deteriorate as a result. And, deterioration is probably a strong word, but I do think you're going to see every single plan, or the majority of plans in the country really, weaken their benefits in some area or another. It might be raising the prescription drug deductibles. It might be, I think you're going to see a lot of those prescription impacts that I mentioned, but some plans might see their dental coverage get reduced. Some plans might see their vision coverage gets reduced. Some plans might see their hearing aid coverage get reduced. Now, will it be head and shoulders? With some plans, it might be. With other plans, it might just be slight. But this is something that you need to be aware of because there really isn't very many plans that we expect to see their benefits improve in 2025. So this is something you need to be aware of. Most standalone prescription drug plans are seeing premiums go higher, although not all. There are some that are going down, so that's not a blanket statement by any means. We need to talk about the new Medicare prescription drug payment plan that's new for next year. I won't bore you with getting too much into the weeds of this, but the new Medicare prescription drug payment program is a new thing as well for 2025. If you are an individual that is most likely to, let's say you have a lot of prescription drug costs, and you're most likely to hit your $2,000 max out-of-pocket cap and then be fully covered after that in a very short period of time in the new year, in maybe a month or two, you can apply for with and every single Medicare insurance company, whether it be a standalone prescription drug plan or whether it be a Medicare Advantage plan with drug coverage included, you will be able to apply with that insurance company to go on to this payment plan. So basically what that means is the insurance company will pay all of the claims out of their pocket to the pharmacy, and then they will break up your payments and have you pay them back 1 month at a time over the course of the year. So that will help break up the payments and it won't be as painful for people that are meeting that $2,000 max out of pocket next year. So that is a new thing altogether. Never had that quite before. It's kind of just goes over what we just covered there. Starting 2025, you'll be able to apply with your insurance company to get on a payment plan if you're guaranteed to hit your $2,000 cap, breaking your costs up to monthly over the course of the year. So let's talk about this, right? What does this mean for you? I think it just means you need to be aware and have the expectation that for most people, your prescription drug costs will go up. The people that will be positively impacted, like I said, are people that are spending over $2,000 now in their prescription drug costs. They're going to save money, which is good for them. I think if you're just taking generic prescriptions, like I said, you're only taking tiers 1s and 2s, this will have very little, if no impact on you prescription drug plan wise. If you fall in the middle there, where like you're taking a couple tier 3s, you're taking a couple tier 4s, you're taking 5, 6, 7 prescriptions on a monthly basis, and a couple of them are brand names, your costs are likely to go up. Probably not too much, but a little bit. And as well, if you're on a Medicare Advantage plan, I think you can have the expectation that most Medicare Advantage plans will have their benefits slightly pulled back for 2025 because the insurance companies are adjusting with having all these extra prescription drug costs that they didn't have before. So this is something you need to be aware of. This is something we wanted to kind of bring to your attention and just make you aware of it and set the expectation because, you might get information on your plan changes and you might look like it's getting a little bit worse for next year, but it's important that you understand that virtually the majority of plans, if not almost all plans, are seeing the same thing that your plan is seeing as well. Now, some are getting worse than others. Not saying you shouldn't compare your plan if you feel like it's getting significantly worse, but it's something we wanted to make you aware of for 2025. I hope you found this video helpful in kind of bringing to light these prescription drug changes. If you did, you can help more people on Medicare not be as lost and confused and maybe make a bad mistake by changing to a worse plan this coming open enrollment period by liking this video. It helps the algorithm, help more people find it easier. Comment your thoughts down below. Do you believe this is a good change? Do you believe it's a bad change? We'd love to have dialogue with you and kind of see what your thoughts are. Subscribe. We put weekly videos out to help you with your Medicare and provide you helpful information just like this. And thanks so much for watching, folks. If you want to work with my office, if you're not already a client with us, you definitely can reach us. Let me put that up on the screen. We're licensed in over 40 states. We specialize in Medicare in helping people with their Medicare options. And here's our contact information. You can see our website. You can see our office phone number. Our team is as good as it gets, the best in the business. And we can help you with no cost, no obligation to you to check your plan out and make sure it's the best one for next year. We look forward to talking with you. Again, please like this video, comment on it, and until next time, everybody, happy Medicare.